the hatchet, let bury the hatchet, let bury the hatchet in the Kaiser's head. We'll crown him on the noodle, make him with...
Hello YouTube, it's Chuck Claywell. Thought I'd do more of an informal sort of sit down and talk to camera style video here. Got a lot of great response to my last Wind in the Holler video. I really enjoyed getting all the feedback, all the questions and everything that was asked. And I have a few notes here I sort of wanted to go over sort of as an after action report, and to sort of go over some of the lessons learned from this last outing and things that I'm going to carry forward into the future. I do plan on making more of these classic camping in the early to mid 30s time period, and sort of without further ado, I'm sort of going to get into that now. So the video that I put out, Wind in the Holler, it was not quite what I wanted to make. Really, I wanted to make two separate videos covering this camp out. I did want to do one where I just sat down and I went over all of the equipment, and then I wanted a separate video that chronicled the entire camp out. Well, it had taken me several weeks sort of to find a day and stick with it. I had planned on going a couple of earlier times, and it was just really cold weekends, and so I postponed it, and it was starting to get into the middle part of March, and I'm like, if I'm going to go before it starts to warm up and the critters start to move, specifically snakes, I should do it soon. And so I set a deadline for myself. I'm going camping this weekend, and I'm just going to, rain or shine, hot or cold, I'm going. I kind of ran out of time. I set this deadline. It was coming up. I had pretty much all the gear that I thought that I needed. In addition to my separate video on equipment, separate video on the excursion, I wanted to make a video or incorporate into that video some more of the persona and especially in the equipment video, why I chose the gear I chose. Because I was looking at the gear that I chose based on the persona that I picked for myself, which is essentially I'm a veteran of the Great War. I live in sort of the foothills of the Appalachians here in Kentucky. It's like, what would I have had access to? What would I be comfortable with and familiar with? Somebody who's my age, in his early 30s, and a veteran, which I'm a real life veteran. So all of this really sort of tied into experiences that I already have as an individual outside of reenacting, and then going into this event, sort of carry those things over. In that equipment video, a lot of the equipment that I chose was either military surplus or things that could be gotten either through mail order or locally, either through like the Boy Scouts catalog, through a surplus catalog like Bannerman's, or stuff at Western Auto, which there was a Western Auto in the town that's closest to me here in real life. So some of the, like the flashlight would have been available, something like that at a Western Auto. But getting back to the deadline that I had set, it ended up being a cold weekend, and it was cold. It started getting windy, and I kind of needed to get going. So I was running out of daylight. It was still mid-March, so the sun set relatively early. It was right after the time change. I started running out of time, and I'm like, if I'm going to get set up and get firewood and a fire started before the sun goes down, I've got to get going fast. And so my gear review video was basically just me laying it out and talking about it, like I mentioned, or like you saw in the Wind in the Holler video. It quickly became apparent that the persona thing was going to have to take second seat, and this whole weekend sort of started to turn into me and my equipment, my 30s equipment, versus the elements, because it ended up being down to 19 degrees that night. Winds were probably a relatively consistent 10 to 15 miles an hour. It was cold. It's why I also didn't get a lot of footage that I would have liked to have. I wanted to get some footage of me cooking. I wanted to get footage of me setting up the tent. But everything was working against me. My tripod broke right before I went out. By the time I started cooking, it was mostly dark. So unless you sort of wanted to watch a dark shape on the backside of a fire, sort of move a frying pan around, that's about all that the footage that I would have been able to get. That's kind of what happened, and it sounds like excuses now that I'm sort of saying it out loud. It's not. It just is what it is. I'm proud of the video that I made, and I hope that everybody enjoyed it. I just sort of want to address there's people that wanted to see more, but at the time, there's not much more that I could have provided. With that kind of weather, it was sort of me and my gear versus the hills, and I won. It kept going through my mind the entire weekend. It's like, there were guys that climbed Everest with stuff not much different than what I had. Now, I do not compare myself at all to those guys. They were exceptional athletes, and I am not. But, I was sort of kept that in the back of my mind. It's like, it's going to get cold. It's going to get, windy. But it's like, I'm just going to tough it out. I want to see what I can do with my gear. The concept of all this, after I had seen the Facebook page was, the Bannerman's Camp Facebook page was, I saw it, and it's like, and some of Sarge's videos, and it's like, yeah, I've got a lot of this stuff. I've been reenacting for a long time, and a lot of early 20th century and late 19th century impressions that I could draw gear from. It's like, what can I do with what I have? And the vast majority of the equipment that I brought on that camping trip, I already had. Really, the only things that I had ordered, I ordered a match safe, my Boy Scout axe, I had ordered it, and my Scout pocket knife. And that's pretty much it as far as gear that I ordered. So I only had to purchase a couple of things, and I pretty much had everything else. So I was very, I sort of wanted to see what can I do with the gear that I have, and I think that in that I was successful because I was able to go out for a night and spend the night, and even though it wasn't the most comfortable night, make it and fend for myself for an evening. And it's been a long time since I've gone out and done such, and I'm really proud that I was able to get it done with all this older equipment. In the future, I do plan on doing more videos, so I plan on getting some more tailor-made stuff, things that I can fill out what I already have existing equipment, and make it better, and some different things that will be more effective than what I brought this last time. And hopefully I'll be able to show you all that on my next outing, whenever that may be. Had some questions about how I set up my bed. It was very, very simple. I had a Spanish-American War ground cloth, 2 wool blankets under me, 2 wool blankets over me. That's as sophisticated as it got. And then I slept on 2 to keep me separated from the earth, and then 2 over me, and then I was wearing my long johns and my sweater vest to bed and my beanie cap. I learned a long time ago in the actual military that if you want to sleep warm, you wear some kind of head covering, and I prefer sort of a beanie type cap. And so I had my Navy watch cap on, and it was 100% wool, and it kept me warm through the night. I packed really, really heavy, probably too heavy for any kind of actual camping, real backpacking or camping event. I didn't go all that far. I did have to go up and down some hills, and it was difficult with the amount of gear that I had, just because of how heavy all those blankets were. I probably had 20 pounds worth of blankets. And did I freeze? No. Was I particularly warm? No. And then again, it was almost too cold that weekend. The wind was pretty bad, and the cold was too bad, really, for camping. But I persevered. I'm probably, like I said, going to look into getting either a Trapper Nelson or a Duluth style pack in the future to carry stuff in. Not that I don't like my Indian Wars bedding bag. It's just not very big. It's hard to carry gear in, and the straps are not really suited to long distance carrying in the way that I was carrying it. There's a lot of little things. I'm going to overhaul some of my cooking equipment. Next time I'm going to do my best to try to actually get some cooking footage. Like I said, by the time I actually started cooking, it was pretty much dark. And so I was sitting there cooking in the dark. One thing I did learn is that a 1918 produced USGI issue fork is very sharp. I still have some spots on my hand where it poked through my haversack and started gouging me as I was hiking in to my campsite. I could probably go and get my utensil covers. I will probably just replace the fork with a civilian pattern. I've got a spare one that I will probably use. Oh, lots of little nitpicky stuff that I sort of wrote down. Things that I packed too much. Things that I would like to replace or maybe leave behind to make a little bit of a lighter load for myself. I didn't need some of the toiletries that I brought with me, so that I could have left behind, and that was extra weight that I could have left behind. I saw in Sean Dyer's video, where you're supposed to keep a second thing of matches. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to get another Marbles match safe because with all that wind and everything, I almost ran out of matches lighting my fire, and that's embarrassing. As an old Eagle Scout, that would have been very embarrassing to have run out of matches on my camp out trying to get my fire started, and and that would have been it for the event. It's like, if I can't get a fire started, that would have been done. It's like, I'm not gonna, I needed that warm food in me to have a chance of staying warm through the night. But I'm gonna do that, and like I said, there's a lot of other little pieces of equipment that I think I can get that would be better suited to actual camping, that will improve things. And as the weather gets warmer, I won't need so much weight and blankets and whatnot to stay warm. Looking into the future, I'm really excited about this. I like that I can do something in my own backyard, that I can test out some of this gear and use it the way sort of it was intended to be used. I sort of like that me and my gear versus the world kind of look at things. That's always appealed to me. I've always been a gear guy. Even when I was young in the Scouts, I'd have all my gear packed 2 weeks before a weekend camp out. That sort of thing appealed to me. I like using it. I like seeing what works, what doesn't, tweaking what works, what doesn't. And that gives me a better understanding of how all this stuff works. I had a suggestion from my uncle. He knows that I like to fish, so he thought that might be interesting to see me do some fishing videos. That does sort of appeal to me. I'm doing some research looking into the kind of gear and equipment that I might need for something like that. And we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. There's not really a whole lot of fish in the creeks and streams right here on my parents' property, but there are plenty of lakes and bigger rivers around that I could test the equipment at. I might not be able to do it as a classic camping overnight, but I might do a day trip and go out fishing with my gear so that's sort of a wrap up of everything. Sort of some of my thoughts. I kind of rambled a bit in there, but I think it does. I'm pleased overall. I'm pleased with the event. I'm pleased with how my gear performed in that weather. It's kind of for whatever reason, I always tend to trial by fire. I'm the kind of guy that's like, well, let's see if I can swim and jump into the deep end of the first go. I don't know why it works out that way, but that seems that it does. And everything worked out good, and you know, and I'm not one to pat myself on the back, but you know, I wanted to see it through, and just, you know, I could have turned back at any time. I wasn't really all that far from the house, but I knew that I had to push through it for my own edification, and really proud of what I accomplished, and I really look forward to doing a lot more of the classic camping and, you know, other classic sportsman type stuff. Will that be the only thing on this channel? No, I still do a lot of military reenacting. In fact, I'm going to be going to a reenactment this weekend, and you know, that's still interested in that sort of stuff. And I know that on this channel there's a whole lot of people still that really enjoyed my French World War I content. As soon as I can get some good content for that, I'll put a video together. There are still things that I'd like to do with that I haven't been able to yet. So I'm once I can get some footage together and a good script down, then we'll get that content out of there. But I'm looking forward to doing more classic camping, the Bannerman's camp style videos. So with all that said, thank you for watching. I appreciate all the new subscribers. I don't do this for likes and subscribes, but it makes me feel good that there are people out there that enjoy the kind of content that I'm putting out. And I really appreciate you watching. So thanks again, and we'll see you at the Holler.
Let's bury the hatchet, let's bury the hatchet, let's bury the hatchet in the Kaiser's head. We'll prove to him and his curse we don't fight like Falky Whiskers, shouting the battle cry of
Wasps
Wilson.
around. So I